This is episode 69. I'm excited to share this special episode where I was actually interviewed by Mike Alden on the Alden Report podcast. Had an opportunity to share my personal story, what it really took as an entrepreneur to overcome key beliefs that got me through, and we have a candid conversation on what success looks like today and what it really takes. You can check out this original conversation along with other inspiring interviews on the Alden Report. In the meantime, we get a chance to share the entire conversation here. I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to Alive by Design. My name is Blake Mallen, and we're here to bring you inspiring people, principles, and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. Open your mind and let's dive in. Hey guys, before you listen to the podcast, I just wanted to say I really appreciate you being here. If you want to catch these episodes happening live, where you often can ask real-time questions or maybe even get featured on the show, make sure we're connected on Instagram at Blake Mallen and on my Facebook page, facebook.com/BlakeMallen.page, as I'd love to see you there. Love you guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and enjoy the episode.
This is the Alden Report.
All right. Well, my name is Mike Alden, and we are here in Blue Bay Studios. I tell you, I'm super excited for my next guest. He is a TEDx speaker. He's an entrepreneur. He's built businesses that have generated literally billions of dollars. And I've actually been trying to get him on my podcast for years, and he's been avoiding me for I'm not really sure why, but we're going to find out why. Again, this guy I've seen what he's been doing. He's built, again, huge companies. He's an amazing speaker, and he's here today to talk about, what he's up to. He's got a great podcast, and we're just going to chat about business. We're going to chat about life, and I think you're really going to love my next guest. Please help me welcome Blake Mallen. Blake, thanks so much for being my guest.
I know this has been a little while in the making, huh, Mike?
Yeah, man. I've been chasing this guy, man. I've been chasing you. And finally said, yeah. I was wondering, like, is he avoiding me for what? We met briefly. We're talking about this before. We met briefly, and then I was like, did I offend him? Because it's possible. I'm from Boston. I offend people all the time, and I don't even realize it. But thanks for coming on.
I'm really bad with periods of time. So what was that? Was it
like 5 years ago?
5 years ago.
Yeah, it was like 5 years ago. Yeah.
Well, congrats to you. I've been watching from afar. Congrats on everything you've achieved, where the podcast has gone, and love what you're doing, and happy to finally connect for sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. So, for those of my viewers and listeners who don't know you, give us a little kind of like the Reader's Digest version of, how you got started in your entrepreneurial journey.
Wow, going way back. So I guess, the first thing to know, Mike, is I didn't grow up with business in my background or entrepreneurial in my family tree, almost the exact opposite. So my mom was an educator. She was a principal of a school, and my dad was a cop. So I had a principal and a cop as parents. So about as far away from the entrepreneurial pedigree as you can get. And I was following the kind of traditional path. And I think actually you went the law path, for a long while, didn't you?
Yeah. I went to law school, graduated, and practiced for a few years. Yep.
So I was headed that direction, right? In my family, you were kind of a lawyer, a doctor, or a failure. Or at least that's what I felt growing up. So kind of right. a lot of pressure. And I thought I was law school bound, went down to school in San Diego and was kind of just running the motions, running what I call, the script, so to speak. And really the turning point for me, I guess, to answer your question of where it started as an entrepreneur, I remember it really clearly. It was kind of a defining moment. It was my summer of my sophomore year of college. I was spending my summer interning for a district attorney out in Ventura, literally filing giant manila files all day long, like absolutely hating life, but telling myself like, well, this is what I got to do. I got to pay the price, right? I got to build the resume. And I must have been just, exuding some just miserable energy. And I had a friend and mentor just ask me one day, I was driving home, like, why are you doing all of this? Right. And I totally remember that moment, because that simple question of someone just stopping me and just asking me like why I was doing it was the first time I had that awakening, because I didn't have a good answer. Like the only thing I told him was, well, isn't this what like I'm supposed to do? And that was it. That was a shift for me, realizing that I was literally investing most of my life following a script for no better reason than it's what I've been told I was supposed to do. And that kind of opened up to a level of awareness where now I started looking for other ways. And, kind of fast forward, just met some great mentors, met some great entrepreneurs, and, ultimately ended up on the entrepreneurial path here. So yeah, fast forward, 20 years as an entrepreneur, all I've ever done, primarily in the health industry. And it's been quite a journey and still continues to be one every day, as you know.
Well, some would say that you dodged the bullet there by not going the law route, Did you actually take the LSATs? Did you take it that far?
No, I didn't. I went down to school at UCSD, so it's down in San Diego. I, got the degrees, political science, public law, and psychology. I graduated cum laude. So like I was definitely hardcore on that academic achiever route. But no, it was that sophomore year. I ended up starting a business out of my dorm room. And I got the bug, and it was really personal growth. It was me shifting, what I was listening to, what I was reading, falling into a whole genre of education that I just fell in love with, and ended up having some moderate success, nothing like, huge out of the gates. But I remember telling myself, like, this is what I want to do. I don't see myself going the law school route or trying to go the career route. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to cram my classes. I'm going to graduate early just to give this entrepreneurial thing a crack. So I did. I crammed my classes, graduated in 3 years, and went full time, leaping into entrepreneurship, and never looked back.
What was your first, kind of foray into entrepreneurship? Did you start a business? Were you working for another entrepreneur? What sort of business was it?
No, I fell in first and foremost to, I guess, what I would call today community-based marketing, right? What maybe people would refer to as direct sales or kind of home-based business. And that was my first introduction. And I had a great experience. That's where I first met people that thought differently, right? That were exploring something, that I wasn't being taught, like from parents or in a classroom. And, like I said, first, it wasn't like, oh, this is it. It was really like, oh, maybe I can meet some people, learn some things, make some money to pay off my student loans and put me through school. That's really what it started to be. But, the more you surround yourself with people that think differently, and the more you start to, shift the input you have, as an entrepreneur, like, it's hard to ever go back to the traditional path. So yeah, I started in community-based marketing, ended up becoming a top, salesperson or representative within that company within 5 years. And that was my introduction to really entrepreneurship, my introduction to personal growth, my introduction to, life principles, success principles, outside a classroom. And I fell in love with it.
Yeah, it's interesting too when you hear the term direct sales. I know others use other terms for it, and excuse me, and a lot of people kind of have a negative connotation to it. I was actually general counsel of a network marketing company, but one of the things, when I was a kid, I grew up in the projects, and I was, never had anything, and you would see like it was Quick Star, Amway, they would come through, and I remember, being pitched the dream, so to speak, but I also remember the positivity of being around these people and going to some of these meetings or what have you, and there's always this resistance, right? I mean, you built a massive company in that space, and there was always this resistance because I feel like people felt like, oh, it's not real. It's kind of rah-rah stuff. But I first discovered, self-help and things like this with the book, The Magic of Thinking Big, which a lot of network marketing companies, kind of give out to people. And it changed my life. And like, it sounds like it might've changed yours by being around people that have a positive outlook, a different outlook on life. And that mentality and that way to think, it works, right?
I mean, I think environment affects all of us in a major way. And I don't think there's any of us that, can say otherwise, right? Our environment influences us every single day. And but what I mean by our environment is, yes, the things we read or listen to, but really the people that we surround ourselves with. And, most people, they go through life and it's like we accept the environment that was given to us by default. Right. So we accept our family, right? That we don't, necessarily get to choose. We accept maybe the people we sit next to in a classroom and, become friends with, or we sit next to at our jobs. And like for most people, if you really think about it, we spend most of our life around people that were given to us, not necessarily people that we choose. So for me, it was direct sales, community-based marketing that showed me, wow, there's people that think differently. It allowed me to choose, right? People that I want to surround myself with that were living by different standards, thought different ways, taking different actions. And, it's like the old cliche goes, like you surround yourself with those people long enough, eventually you're going to shift the mindset. You're going to start thinking differently, behaving differently, and ultimately giving different results. So I'm a big advocate of any environment. It doesn't have to be community-based marketing, but any environment where you can just surround yourself with people that challenge you to raise your standards, give you an example or model to follow, challenge your thinking and show different ways, and ultimately make you pursue better. At the end of the day, we all want people around us that do that, I think.
Was there one particular person that really kind of showed you the way at first that you look back and say, man, I'm so glad I met that person. Did they become a mentor of yours? Is there one?
I'd say there's many, right? I wouldn't say that I have like one guru. I know a lot of people talk about like, oh, I had this one mentor that changed my life. For me, I can't say it was one person. I'd say it's been a lot of people at different seasons of my career. And I'd even go so far to say that, some of the people I had great relationships with and close proximity to. And also I've had people I refer to as mentors that maybe I never had relationships with, but I've managed to get mentored by them through the information they put out. That's what's so great about this age and like what you do here on the podcast. And you can access so much information from so many talented people that can be your mentors, whether they're, in person in your backyard or in your earbuds. So for me, it's been a group of people. And I try to not emulate any single one individual, but I try to say, what do individuals excel at in different categories? And what can I learn from them in that category and make it my own? And that's kind of been my approach. So there's been a few at different stages, but I wouldn't say there's like one guru that changed my life. How about you?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. No, I don't think I have either. And I think you're right. I think it's, you did say it's cliche-ish, but it's true. They say again, like you basically just said, you are a reflection of the five people that you're surrounded by, they say, and what's also interesting with what you just said is, back in the day, you literally had to physically be around these people. Right. And so now with technology, just like you said, and it's really powerful what you said, and is that these people that you or I maybe want to get close to, or others, they're listening right now, they want to get close to these other people. 9 times out of 10, they can for free, right? So whether it's YouTube or, like you said, whether it's a podcast, I know you have a great podcast as well, and it's the information is there more so than ever, right? I mean, that's the exciting part about being alive today. This, if you want it, you just need to look for it, right?
It's crazy. And not to date both of us, but yeah, it was when I got started, that wasn't there. Like, no. I hate to say I was even buying the CDs. I didn't have the money. I was bootlegging the CDs at the time, right? Listening and trying to get the input. But today it's everywhere. But I think maybe one of the problems, Mike, especially, timely with where the world's at right now, is it's so easy to find the information that's good for us. But it's also so easy to get inundated with information maybe that's not. So I think it's a choice both ways. I think it's a choice as an entrepreneur to surround yourself with an environment that is going to empower and affect you in a positive way, but also consciously limit or reduce maybe some of the input that is going to have a limiting effect or a negative effect. And I think that choice now more than ever is so important, just because of the amount of information, like you said, that we get access to, maybe sometimes whether we want it or not.
In a second, we're on with Blake Mallen. He is just a rock star entrepreneur. He has a podcast. He's a TEDx speaker. I want to talk to him about his TEDx in a second. But if you're listening right now and you'd like some more information about Blake, he's literally everywhere. You can find him on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. It's at Blake Mallen, Mallen. You can also just check out his podcast called Alive by Design. It's everywhere. And you can also, if you want to watch his TEDx speech, which I'm going to ask him about next, you can just go to shiftthescript.com. Again, we're on with Blake Mallen. Blake, TEDx. tell me about that process, because again, earlier we were talking about, this is my own selfish question, because I have applied to TEDx and been denied. Although I did bubble once. They told me, you might kind of made it, but not really. Tell me about first the process. Why did you do a TEDx? How did you apply for it? And what was the speech about? I know people can go to shiftthescript.com, but I'd just like to hear it, literally from you, since we have you. I've been chasing you for 5 years.
TED's a great organization. So like if all of you are looking for,
did you do a TEDx or
TEDx? Yeah. It was
TEDx.
Okay. And just TED in general. So TEDx, which obviously is the kind of community-based model that feeds into the TED platform. Speaking of environment, it's a great place to go find inspiring ideas and awesome information. So yeah, it was an honor. I got, to answer your question directly, I got asked.
Really?
So I had individuals that were hosting a TED here in Los Angeles. And some of the individuals that were in charge of kind of hosting the event just reached out and gave me the invitation. And I jumped at it because number one, I respect the TED organization. So I said, I'm going to do it. I think this is a great opportunity. I'm an avid listener of TED Talk, so it's been an honor to give one. But then came the question of like, what am I going to talk about? And Mike, true story. So I had a week. I got asked the week before.
Really?
Yeah. So the most people prepare. I guess I shouldn't say most, but I do know a lot of people prepare for their TED Talk for like years or a year.
Oh yeah. I mean, not only that, they bring you in, you do a practice, the whole thing. Oh yeah. So you had a week. Wow. Okay.
I literally had a week notice. Like, hey, we're putting on this TED Talk. They had a spot. And I got the invitation. So yeah, it was a crazy week to figure out, man, what message do I want to give to the world? And how do I do it in a way that I want to make an impact and I want to inspire? So yeah, in a week we put that together, and it's been awesome to see it get some traction. It's been humbling. I think it's getting close to 1 million views, which is a pretty decent start for a TED Talk. But yeah, it was a fun journey, fun adventure. And I'd say for everybody out there, if you ever get the invite or pursue that opportunity, I think it's a great platform to share your passion to the world.
So what did you choose? You had a week. You have 18 minutes to speak about something. What was your topic? And I don't want to give away the speech because, again, we can just go to shiftthescript.com and they can watch it, or you can just just Google TEDx Blake Mallen and find it. But, what was the topic? Don't give me the speech, but what was the topic?
Yeah, I won't. And either of those works. If you just search my name in TED, you can find it. It's actually a perfect question because it plays off that defining moment. So the TED Talk is really about why you're supposed to no longer works. And you said it's at shiftthescript.com. And that was kind of the message that caught, I guess, amongst the community after the TED Talk is that term or keyword kind of shift the script, meaning making the shift from this kind of supposed to life. And what I mean by supposed to life, we all understand that. Like most of us will spend our entire lives following a supposed to, right? I'm supposed to go to school. I'm supposed to study hard. I'm supposed to get good grades. I'm supposed to go to college. I'm supposed to study hard. I'm supposed to get good grades. I'm supposed to get a job. I'm supposed to work hard. I'm not going to call in sick, right? I'm supposed to climb the corporate ladder. I'm supposed to have a family. I'm supposed to get married. We spend our entire life chasing this supposed to. And my big life shift was when I realized, wow, I'm living a life by and for the expectations of others, not really living a life that was true to myself, or what I kind of call in the TED Talk, not you're supposed to, but you're meant to, what you were designed to do, right? Who you were meant to be. So that's the premise. The premise is we're following a script. Most people don't realize they're following a script. A lot of people don't awaken to that until too late in life, and then they're filled with a bunch of regret. And, I just want to inspire people to wake up, shine a light, become aware, become conscious that, wow, maybe I'm following a script of supposed to because it's what I think I'm supposed to do and who I'm supposed to be, but is this really who I am and what I'm meant to do? And once we start asking those questions, it might give us different answers that put us on a totally different path. And for me, that totally different path was a lot more fulfilling, a lot more happiness, a lot more success, right? A lot more impact. And had I not had that awakening and that realization, like you said at the very beginning, maybe I dodged a bullet. I know I'd probably be more stressed out with more gray hair and more unhappy had I gone the legal route. I deal with enough lawyers in business to know that. And it was that moment. So that's the premise of it. And it gets into where the script came from and why it's there and how it was never really supposed to be there. And the outcome of it is to challenge the world to stop chasing supposed to and start pursuing they're meant to. And that was really my message. And it came from, like I said, just my story of how I got to where I am, and wanting to see other people pursue who they're meant to be. So that's the context.
So, I hear this a lot from successful entrepreneurs, where they're at this point and they just make a decision, and for those listening and watching right now, especially, where we're at and with the pandemic and the financial crises and I don't want to bring things down, but I don't think it's going to get much better within the next few years as far as financial crisis. I think it's actually going to get worse after when things bounce back because of the real estate market. And again, I'm trying to keep it on a positive light. Okay, so you realize that, okay, I'm not supposed to do this. How do you make that decision? You were younger, but so I know, I want you to tell me how you made the decision, but I also want you to maybe put yourself in the position of maybe a mom or a dad who's, working barely to get by, but he wants more for himself and for his family. And it's a scary proposition to shift. Or pivot, right? So first tell me about your, like, that, for lack of a better term, that aha moment, like what it really was. And then, maybe talk to us about, put yourself in the shoes of other people.
Yeah. So if I go back to that moment, like I said, I was 19. And when I all of a sudden had that, whatever you want to call it, epiphany, defining moment, awakening, it was like visceral, like it was emotional. And I actually still feel that when I talk about that, because it was a series of emotions very quick. It was first like, I've been lied to. So first I was pissed, right? I was like, wait a minute, like, am I really just doing this because somebody somewhere decided this is what we're supposed to, and I'm going to spend my life going this direction? So first it was probably like, I was pissed off. I was angry. And then immediately what went through me, and I don't think this is necessarily everybody, but if I'm going to give you like my honest answer, Mike, immediately I casted that forward. And I said, okay, if I'm spent the first, 19 years of my life following a script without ever questioning it, knowing it's not really deep down what I feel I'm meant to do, if I don't change, who's to say there's not going to be another 19 years and another 19 years following and doing the exact same thing? And I immediately jumped to a deep feeling of pain of like, I'm going to waste my life. And that was it. Like, I'm going to waste my life. I'm going to waste my life. I'm going to waste my time. I'm going to waste my talent. I'm going to waste my life. Like, that was the feeling that I had, because I felt like, wow, maybe that's the path that I was on. Now, that's the way I felt. And that's the way I still feel today. Like that fear still, haunts me or drives me, whatever way you want to frame it, of like, I don't want to waste why I was put here. I don't want to waste my time, waste my talent, waste my potential, waste the gifts that a creator has given me. I don't want to waste my life trying to live up to an expectation of somebody else. So for me, that was the start of that. And the reality, that was 20 years ago. Fast forward to today, I think it's still the same, right? Now, what I've done has changed. The past have changed. There's been a lot of lessons, good, bad, right? Positives, negatives, all of it. But I think that's what still drives me is that wanting to live a meaningful life and make the most of my time here, and not to have the other side of it, which was regret. So that's my honest answer. If I were to follow up with your other question of, okay, well, how can someone else take something from that? Maybe that moves you. Maybe it doesn't. But I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs across the world in what I do. And I have found a consistent pattern of what makes a defining moment for people. I think it's pain. Right. I mean, I think it's pain. I think people are pushed by pain until they're pulled by vision. So I think somebody has to get to a place where there's enough pain, either what they're going through or what they think they will go through, to create a shift And once you have a shift, I think at some point you can get to a place where you're not always just running from pain, but you're pulled by a vision, right? Something bigger. But if I were to be honest, at least based on my experience and working with a lot of entrepreneurs, I think you gotta hit a point where enough's enough and you're ready to draw a line in the sand and you're ready not to look back, I think.
Yeah, man, it's really interesting that you say that. It's I wrote down what you said. Pain pulled by vision, and it's really hard, right, when you're going through that pain to see the light, isn't it? Like when you're going through that painful moment, and you just maybe feel like there's no way out. You don't know what to do. You don't know where to go. You don't know what decision to make. And all that time that you're going through that, because I've had a bunch of them, you will get through it, right? And you most likely will find a better opportunity or a better path or just a better life, because it's the pain seems like it is necessary, and it sucks, I guess.
It sucks. It sucks.
Right? Yeah. There's just no way around it, right?
It sucks.
How do we accelerate the pain? How do you put someone in pain like right away?
Hey, if you find that secret, please let me know. I wish it wasn't the case. Like I wish I could give advice that and believe the advice that was different, but my journey's been that. And most entrepreneurs I've met that have achieved any sort of level or status, they've gone through the same shit. It's like you got to go through the shit. And it always sucks when you go through it, but everybody's gone through it. And when they look back, you realize going through it is what makes you who you are. For me, I can't give you the time warp of how do you get through it faster. I haven't figured that one out personally. I can tell you certain beliefs that got me through certain stages. I remember very distinctly the first kind of like patch of pain as an entrepreneur. The company I was a part of that I referenced earlier as a sales representative went out of business. 5 years in, I spent 5 years of my life putting everything I had into it. I thought I was retired, like done by 21. I thought I was it. And all of a sudden I get the phone call that the company's going out of business. And instantly my mind goes back to all the haters that had doubted me, and were they right? And man, do I got to go back to the script? And was this entrepreneurial thing just crazy? And instantly all the doubt fills you back up and we regress to, the script, so to speak. But I remember adopting a belief at that time where the greater the challenge, the greater the reward. And I don't know where I got that or where it came from, but that got stuck and burned into my head, where like the greater the challenge, the greater the reward. And I would just tell myself that, okay, the greater the challenge I'm going through, it's testing me. Do I really want this? Do I really deserve it? Do I have what it takes to get through it? And I would play a mental game that, hey, I know the greater the challenge, I get through it, there's a reward waiting on the other side. I don't know what it is right now, but I know it's there. And that single belief of the greater the challenge, the greater the reward pushed me through a lot in my early stages. In my later stages, and this one might help a lot of individuals, especially right now. I went through a phase where there was a lot of achievement, and I won't go through the milestones. And I don't want to sound like it's a brag list, but like I reached states as an entrepreneur that most people would spend their life wanting to get. And I did it at a really young age.
Right.
And for a while, I got really over-focused on the achievement side and the results. And I don't know, as I get a little older, I've shifted my belief to where I think our potential is not based on what we achieve. I think it's based on what we overcome. And that shift is a big shift, right? Because most people, we measure our self-value on what I achieved today, my results today, the scoreboard today, my bank account today, right? My business growth today. Like we take our results and we tie our identity and self-value to our results today. And if all of a sudden we miss a shot or it's not what we want, we devalue ourselves. Where I think if we really be honest, our potential is not tied to our results. Our potential is tied to what we overcome. And for me, that belief has helped me a lot later in my career. And maybe that adds value to everybody right now, because let's be honest, all of us have overcome a lot through last year, pandemic, where the world's at. And as you said, I think we're going to have to overcome a lot even this year and going forward. But I look at that as, wow, what we overcome, right, really determines our capacity or our potential. So I don't know if that helps, Mike, but to me, like beliefs like that have helped push through the pain periods.
Yeah, no, that was great. In a second, I want to talk to you a little bit about, kind of some of the things that you do to motivate, to help, kind of get you going. Because you hear a lot of entrepreneurs have a system to it. And I know that you probably do as well. I want to talk to you about that in a second. We are on with Blake Mallen. Blake is, again, he's first of all, it's just a great human being. You can just tell by listening to him and looking at him. He's a great guy. He's got a great story. And he's real. And that's the other part I like about him. I don't like that. There's a lot of people out there that are just kind of flexing, and he's done a lot of great things, and he's giving back to the community. He's giving back to you right now, and with his knowledge and some of the things that he's gone through in his life. So if you'd like some more information about Blake, you can check out his podcast, the Live by Design. You can go to livebydesign.com. You can also find him on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, everywhere, at Blake Mallen, Mallen. And you can also check out his TEDx speech, which, you know what, I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't watched it yet. I think I watched a little bit of it a long time ago at shiftthescript.com. So, motivation, man, especially during what we're just talking about, the pain point, the pain that people are in our lifetime. I don't think there's ever a better point that as far as people being in pain, I think there's more people in pain ever in the history of our lifetime, and maybe even within the past 100 years, going back to the Great Depression as well. So, okay, how does someone motivate themselves to get out of that pain, maybe accelerate to get to the point where they need to be, or just in general, just like you wake up in the morning and you just kind of go about your routine? What are some of the things that you do and teach others how to stay motivated?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I think probably one of the most common questions, right? Because what do you do when you don't feel like it? Like everybody wants better, but what do you do when you don't feel like it?
Right. We all want success, but we're also like, we're tired. Like you and I were talking before, like I've been crazy busy. I'm tired. I was super excited for this interview because I'm going to say again, it's taken me 5 years to get him on the podcast. But what do you do, man? Like, how do you overcome that? I know we could talk a little bit because, you have a history of that in the background and nutrition and things like that too. But, what do you do?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll give a couple answers, and I think we've danced on a few themes that are worth just reiterating because I think they are part of the answer. I think one of the ways to make sure you stay motivated is to make sure you surround yourself with people that motivate you. Is your environment right now challenging you to grow, challenging you to get better, challenging you to, pursue progress, or is your environment right now lethargic, right, apathetic, and holding you back, or just by who they are, giving you an excuse not to move forward? So environment is a choice. So I think that is a key. And you can find people, and we mentioned Mike too, those people might be you have relationships with, you have proximity to, or it might be people you reach to. What's in your ear every morning? I still listen to a podcast or an audiobook every day, right? As part of my morning routine, every day, I would say consistently, at least 6 days a week, if not 7 days a week, I have at least 40 minutes or so of some sort of growth, audiobook, podcast, TED Talk in my ear in the morning every day. And you guys, that works, right? I mean, so many people are consuming information that spreads fear or negativity or hate or anger or all these negative emotions. Turn the thing off, change the channel, block the person, shut the post, like put something in your ear that's going to inspire you and get you to think differently. That's a choice. You choose who you surround with. You choose what you listen to. I'll also say this, you're not always going to feel like it. So I think sometimes people think like motivation has to be feeling first. I don't know about you, but 20 years as an entrepreneur, there's a whole bunch of those days where I straight didn't feel like it, right? And if I waited for me to feel like it, to take the actions I know I should take, I wouldn't be where I am. So I do think that, yes, emotion can create motion. Your feeling can create action, but the inverse is also true, right? So, motion can create emotion. In other words, your action can create feeling. In other words, a simple way to say it is, if you don't feel like it, do it anyway. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. If you start to take the step What ends up happening is you take one step, I might as well take two. You take two, you might take three. You start to build a momentum, and all of a sudden you feel better about yourself because you actually are moving forward when you didn't feel that way to begin with. So, those are just some obvious ones. Who are you letting influence you? What's in your ear, right? And what are you consciously putting out? And do it anyway, even when you don't feel like it. Take action, because the motion will create motion or energy that will turn it into inspiration. So those are a couple things. I'm really big on morning routines. It sounds like you probably are as well. And that's been a core for me, but those are some tips and hacks that definitely work.
Yeah, no, I think it's you said it, you just dropped just amazing knowledge there. And I think too, as people get overwhelmed when you look at a task and a lot of times it's daunting. It's a massive, thing that you need to accomplish, but you got to accomplish it. And so we procrastinate and, we don't want to do it. And then it just gets worse, becomes a mental monster. And exactly what you said, in my second book, 5% More, it's exactly what I talk about. It's those baby steps. It's one step in front of the other. And you think about too, how many of us that are listening or watching right now, it's like, you don't want to go to the gym. You don't feel like going to the gym. You're tired, whatever. And then you get there and let's say you're a runner, you're on the treadmill, and like that first 5 minutes is brutal. Right. It just is. But then you break through to minute 6 or 7. And then the rest of it's almost easy. Right. So yeah, I think you can just apply that principle pretty much anywhere. Have you watched the speech by Al Williams? Just Do It.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. All right. Cause you start. Yeah. Cause you because you go, just do it anyway. There's a part where he says, yeah, I want to sell my house, but my house is underwater. Well, what should I do? We'll sell it anyway. Do it anyway. Yeah. For those of you, if you don't know what we're talking about, you have to check it out. It's Al Williams' Just Do It speech. It predates actually the Just Do It slogan by a couple of years. And I wonder if executives at Nike saw that speech. It is, we talk about motivation. I watch that. I don't watch it every day, but I watch that speech and listen to that speech all the time. I also listen to, I don't think a lot of people, I've had Les Brown on my podcast, and I listen to It's Not Over Till I Win, which, by the way, I don't know, I'm guessing you have seen that. He's speaking to 80,000 Amway reps at the Georgia Dome. Have you seen it?
Les Brown is?
Yeah. Have you seen that? Have you seen that speech? No. It's called It's Not Over. It's Not Over Till I Win, man, dude.
I'll add it to my list. Is it the legendary I'm hungry? I'm hungry. Does he get that?
Well, that's one of his things, but it's not over until I win, dude. I'm getting chills just thinking about it because he's in front of 80,000 Amway reps, filled the Georgia Dome.
That is a big event. I'll add that to my list for sure.
Now, you had mentioned something. You said you have a routine in the morning, and every successful entrepreneur I've ever met has a routine. I'm just going to be open, honest, and candid with you, and I am with everybody. I'm not consistent with my routine, so let's just start there. I want to ask you what your routine is, and are you consistent with it?
I'll give you my routine. I'm consistent when I'm home.
Okay.
I am horrible when I'm traveling. Okay. So, and in my career, I traveled a lot, not so much these days. So I do stay pretty consistent when I am home. My morning routine, I wake up pretty early, right? So I'm up generally around 6:30. So not early, but I like to get an earlier start. I don't sit here and hit the snooze a bunch of times. I get up. I do not keep my phone next to the bed.
Yes.
A big one. I did stop that years ago. And for many reasons, the health reasons, and because I know if it's there, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna read it. And I just lost 20 minutes. So I get up, I go get dressed. I go straight to my closet. First thing I do is I get dressed for my morning run before I check, see, do anything else. I walk into my office. I will grab my watch. I will grab my earbuds. I will grab my phone, still not checking it, and I will go downstairs, to which I will go through my supplement routine. I got my supplement routine. I will select what audio or podcast I'm going to do, and I will pop it in my ears and run out the door. So I go for a morning run most mornings. And if I'm not doing a morning run, then I'll do some sort of strength training. In the middle of my run or after my training, I fell in and became a huge fan and advocate of meditation, which I know this last year has become, seems like it's everywhere. And I think, Mike, you and I were talking earlier. How long have you been doing TM?
So I don't want to make this about me, but about 8 years ago, I suffered a massive panic attack. You had small ones in law school, but I'd never experienced those until law school. But this one was to the point where I thought I was going to need to go to the hospital. I mean, it was that bad. I knew I wasn't having a heart attack. I'm a big guy, so I'm always like, oh, I'm having a heart attack. And it freaked me out, man. So that was a Friday. And also I had just gotten separated from my wife. My daughter was there. She was only like 4 or 5, I think. I knew about transcendental meditation from Howard Stern, actually. I had learned a little bit about the science behind TM. And so that was a Friday. That Monday, there's a TM center here in Beverly, Mass, where I'm located. And I picked it up and I haven't looked back. And it literally, I feel like not only did it save my life, it changed my life. And I put through 25 of my employees. I put through my parents. It was just life-changing. And yeah, you hear about it now, because now it's like mental health is like the in thing to talk about now. Now there's stuff on advertisements, and Michael Phelps is out. Michael Phelps has always been pretty honest about his stuff, but he's out there promoting an app, and you see the Calm app, and you see all this other stuff. But I know you and I, knew each other before, and this isn't like new for you. Like, you've been doing this a while, right? I mean,
well, I picked up TM maybe 3-4 years ago. I've been pretty consistent 3-4 years. Yeah. But yeah, like you, even at the beginning, I wouldn't tell people like transcendental meditation. It just,
well, they think it's like a hippie, like kind of like cultish type thing. And listen, for those of you listening right now, again, there's a great book called Transcendence. You can get that book. I think the guy's name is Rosenthal. I think his name is. It's a great book. It'll really kind of tell you about TM, but there is some aspects to that first week when you take the training. It's a week-long training, and then after that, you're good. There's some stuff to it that people might think it might be religious or cultish, but it's not.
There's some stuff. I mean, there's some stuff to everything. All I can say is it worked for me. So I picked that up, and I do that. I do it consistently in the morning. In TM, you should do it twice a day. I'm not so good at the evening one, but I'm really good at the morning one. And that's a part of my morning routine. Then I'll end with, I ask myself some simple questions at the end of that. I'll ask myself, what are my top 3 intentions for the day? What are my, most important priorities for the day? And these are just conversations I have in my head. And then I'm faith-based. So I'll generally do kind of a quick prayer, and that's my morning routine, and I'll make sure I say hi to and spend some time with my kids. So I got a 5-year-old son, Grayson, a 2-year-old daughter, Sadie. Little ones in the house through COVID has been interesting. So I make sure I, have some present moments with them in the morning before I lock myself in my office and go to work. So those are things that I've found work for me. And, it's a great way to start the day. And I found if you start your day that way, you already won your day. You won your day by winning your morning. And, you talk about motivation or staying on point. I think what you do in the morning to start your day is a huge, huge, huge piece of it.
I think you're right, man. And again, every successful entrepreneur I've ever met, every successful entrepreneur that I've read about, every podcast that I've listened to with entrepreneurs, they all seem to have a routine. And even before this meditation thing became, the in thing to talk about or the in thing to do, the successful people before that were doing it. And again, I had heard Howard Stern that, was doing it. Then I heard Jerry Seinfeld, Ellen DeGeneres is on the TM.org's page and talks about how it changed her life, and Oprah and all everyone from the whole Oprah organization, Dr. Phil, everybody's doing it. And I'm like, man, if they're on to something, right? If they're doing it, there's got to be something to it. And the other part too, not just about TM, but there's over 400 independent clinical studies about TM and what it does for your brain, for your neuroplasticity, for things like depression, for anxiety, for heart disease, all this stuff, just about TM. But regular, when I say regular, we're talking like maybe mindfulness meditation. There's all different forms of meditation. So like you said, TM works for you, might not work for everybody, but if you find some sort of really moment where you just shut down for a little bit, and it's really hard as an entrepreneur to do, but if you have that consistency, that's the one thing that I'm fairly consistent with is the TM. But I just wrote down TM every day, because because I don't do it every day. I did it every day when I was in pain. Right? I was in a lot of pain, right? To get me, back to balance, so to speak. But yeah, that is, really, really good stuff. So, I know we don't have you all day. I could talk to you forever, but I want to talk to you about, you have this kind of theme in some of the stuff I was reading about is time, and there's only so much time on this planet. We always say there's only so much time in the day, and you had mentioned being present with your kids. How do we maximize our time? How do we not waste our time and really appreciate and value the opportunity that we've been given by whatever put us on this planet?
Yeah. Do you have an answer to that one?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hold on. So do you want me to just answer it for you?
Can you tell me? Yeah, what would be your answer? I would actually love to hear your philosophy on it. Because isn't that like the question of life?
Well, I think it kind of goes back to, so for me, it goes back to that routine stuff. And I saw Tony. Well, actually, I listened to a podcast with Tony Robbins and Gary Vaynerchuk, and they were going back. Gary's great, and he's such a contrarian with some things. And Tony Robbins says that every morning, he's got a routine, and one of his things in his routine is he says 3 things that he's grateful for, right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be the same, right? It can change up. Gary V's method is what he does is he envisions. This is crazy. I don't know if it was his podcast or Tony's, which is he envisions his family dying in a car crash. It's Gary V, who says, and he thinks about how horrible that would be. And he thinks about the fact that if that were to happen and the missed opportunities of spending time with them. I think it's a kind of a crazy way to think about it, but I do that as well. I do it at night as well. It's almost like prayer a little bit, where I try to, I say a lot of different things. I usually say that I'm grateful, for my family. I pretty much consistently always say that I'm grateful for my life. It's such a weird thing. I remember when I used to meet people and they would say, I'd say, how you doing? And they say, oh, well, at least I have my health. And I'd be like, man, those people hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. But no, those people are just smarter than me. So for me, those are the 2 things. And the other thing is, a lot of times I always just say that I'm also grateful for the opportunities that have been given to me and whatever they may be. And then I mix it up too, but that's how I try to, kind of maximize my time and not waste time. But I want to go back to another thing. I do waste time sometimes. I do, like, when I don't feel like doing things, I think we all do. Sometimes I just don't. And you talked about regret, and you don't regret that stuff now, but when you're 85, 86, 87, 88, and hopefully 110 years old, that's when the regrets really start to kick in, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk for days just on time. I mean, for me, it's interesting you pick that up as a theme or thread, even in this short conversation, because like, for me, that's everything. For me, time means life. Right. So, I mean, if you really think about it, like, we have a fixated amount of time. At the end of the day, that timeline, that's our life. So I've always had that association that like time equals life. It's not, is this worth investing my time into? Is this worth investing my life into? Because time is life. That's all we have. And I think for me, it starts with that belief or that realization. And yeah, whether you look at it like, hey, we only have such a fixated amount, or, you hear a lot of the, hey, if it, tomorrow were the last day, or today you were the last day, like, what would matter? You hear a lot of exercises of, man, you're looking back at your funeral and back on your life. Like, what would you change? I mean, there's different methodologies that I think all say the same thing of like, time is life. It is finite. And what are you investing your life into? For me, that makes me put a high value and urgency, like a never-ending urgency on the time that I have, which then gets into, well, man, what am I investing my life into? You said something interesting, Mike. You're like, oh, there's a lot of things where I do waste time. And I used to think that a lot as an entrepreneur. And what's interesting is I would associate things that I would think was wasting time as things that weren't my career, or weren't my business, or weren't me growing my income, or weren't me chasing success. And I would look at everything else as wasting time. And again, maybe it's maturity, maybe it's becoming a father, maybe it's realizing there's other kind of priorities out there. I don't look at those as wasted time anymore. Like, I look at that as the priority. Spending time by yourself, doing what you love and having fun, it's not wasted time. You deserve to spend time doing something you love, or you deserve to spend time doing nothing, right? And letting your cup refill. Like, I don't look at that as wasted time, right? I look at that as something that everybody needs as part of their life. So it's just a matter of how you look at it. And one kind of thing I found myself just coaching a lot to entrepreneurs, especially new entrepreneurs, is just the simple kind of, I guess, principle that wherever you are, just be there. And what I mean by that is I watch so many entrepreneurs go through the entrepreneurial guilt, or the dad guilt or the mom guilt, where it's like they're building their business and they feel guilty. They're not being super dad or super mom or taking care of the kids or at everything, and so they're not really all building their business at that point. And then when they're with their kids or their family, they can't get off their phone and answering messages, and they have anxiety over what's happening with their business. So I watch people play this guilt game where they're never fully where they are. And their mind is always feeling guilty of where they're not. And I guess my message for all of you as entrepreneurs out there is you got to let that go. Like, wherever you are, be there. If you're focused on your business, your career, or a project, give it your all for a fixed time period. And then let yourself emotionally off the hook. When you're spending time with your kids, spend time with your kids. When you're spending time with your fam, spend time with your fam. When you're spending time for you, don't feel guilty, because you deserve time for you. And you just got to determine within your own kind of timeline or calendar where your priorities are. So how much time goes into which bucket? And, if you feel good about that combination, let yourself off of the guilt, because you can't do everything all at once. So those are just some thoughts, Mike, I guess that come into my mind, some things that I've found valuable and some things that I've taught, but I can't tell you I have all the answers. Like, for me, I live every day realizing time is everything. Time is our life. How do we make the most of it? So at the end of the day, we don't have a wasted life full of regret, and we made an impact. And I don't think there's a perfect answer to that. But if you keep that belief, I think it guides us every day.
Wow. We've been on with Blake Mallen, and he's a rock star entrepreneur. He's a motivational speaker. He built big businesses. He coaches people all over the world. He also he's got a great podcast called Alive by Design. You can find him pretty much everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, at Blake Mallen, Mallen. You could also watch his TED Talk at shiftthescript.com. He's got his regular website, BlakeMallen.com. You just Google him. He's everywhere. He's been doing things, from a very young age, and he's experienced a lot of success, but it hasn't always been easy. And the information that he shared with us was just awesome. And I'm motivated, man, by just, having you here. I'm glad, they say, what's the old saying? It's, the good things will come or something like that. I don't know. But you've just been fantastic, man. And I'm really, really glad that we were able to get together and you could share this, knowledge with the people listening and the people watching. It's just been truly amazing. So again, I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank those who are watching and listening. I want to also thank you for your time. And also, if you felt this valuable, if you felt as though this could help you or help others or help you again, your life, anything and everything that you feel as though is positive here, share it with others. I'd like for you to share it. I'd like for you to rate it. I'd like for you to give this gift that Blake has given us. He's given us his time. Share it with the world, because it can help people, and it has helped me. So I want to thank you again for your time. My name is Mike Alden. That's Blake Mallen, and we will see you soon.
Hey guys, one last thing. I'm super excited that this new podcast, Alive by Design, just went live. You see, I designed the show to bring you inspired thoughts and fascinating conversations with the world's most impactful people, to provide transformative principles and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. And I'd love for you to help me spread the word now. Simply subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on this platform right now. So if I've ever given you value, please do me this personal favor and go subscribe now. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, make sure you share this with at least one friend today. You have the power right now to change someone's day. So send them a text message with a link to alivebydesign.com. Or simply copy and paste the link right from this podcast platform. Who's one person you know right now that you want to see succeed, that you want to see grow, that you want to see feel more alive? Shoot them a text with your largest takeaway from today and be a light in their day. And if you were referred here by a friend, make sure you shoot them a text back and say thank you.
I'd love to hear from you directly on what you got from today's podcast. So if you're up for it, drop by my Instagram @BlakeMallen and shoot me a DM. And as always, thank you for showing up. I'm grateful for you, and I hope our time together today in some small way helped you feel a little more alive. Until next time.